Hi, boys and girls. It's Reindeer Week. Last week we talked a lot about the gingerbread man, which I love. But reindeer, they're so cool, aren't they? And this is Jan Brett's book called The Wild Christmas Reindeer. Ooh, see that word? You can say the or you can say the, but it's always spelled. Spell it with me. T-H-E. It's everywhere, isn't it? I love the word the. It's everywhere. By Jan Brett. Now, no one's ever actually been to the North Pole or saw the reindeer. We sing songs about them, we talk about them, but this is how Jan Brett imagines the North Pole. And she doesn't call it the North Pole in this book. She calls it Santa's Winter Farm. And this is what she imagined it looks like. And the borders, see the top part here? Ooh, look, there it is there. So in each of the borders, this one has the polka dots. Can we find that one here? I don't know. Let me look again this way so I can see. Oh, it's this one right here. It's very hard to tell. But they're showing what's happening in each part of Santa's North Pole. She also calls the reindeer by different names. Do you know them? Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen. And of course, we know the song about Rudolph. But in here, she came up with different names. Authors can do that. They have great imaginations. So let's find out about Santa's Winter Farm. Tika was excited and a little afraid. This year, Santa had asked her to get the reindeer ready to fly on Christmas Eve. Tika had never done this before, and she wanted everything to be perfect. Tika lived up in the Arctic in the shadow of Santa's winter farm. The last of the snow geese had flown south, and everyone's mind was on Christmas. The workshop was alive with the sounds of saws sawing, hammers hammering, and brushes painting as they all worked to have the toys and presents ready for delivery on Christmas Eve. And here you see what they're making in each part of Santa's winter farm. Oops. Ooh, look what they're making here. Tika knew it was time for her to go in search of the reindeer. They had been on the tundra, wild and free since last Christmas, and Tika was sure they wouldn't want to go back to Winter Farm to train. She would have to be strong and firm. At last she found them, Bramble and Heather, Windswept and Lichen, Snowball, Crag, Twilight, and Tundra. Here's the borders. Tika took a deep breath and shouted out, "Let's go! Move, move, move!" The reindeer were bewildered by Tika's voice. Their heads went up to see who this loud creature was. But they let her herd them together and headed back toward Winter Farm. Tundra gave her the most trouble. Tika didn't know that she considered herself the leader and was not used to being bossed around. He liked to stay next to Twilight, but she was separated from him and running near the front. When they got to the barn, Tika put them in different stalls. Tundra snorted impatiently. Hats and socks. By the next morning, when Tika went into the barn, all the reindeer were restless and upset. Lichen was frightened of Crag, who kept nipping at him. Bramble was so worried she drove Heather wild, and Twilight kept calling out to Tundra, who was just plain angry and stomping his hooves. Dolls. Tika groomed each reindeer. She wanted them to look sleek and glossy for Santa. One by one she brushed and combed their coats and pushed and pulled at their tangled manes. She brushed so long and hard that their ears started to turn pink. Ooh, candy canes. Tika took the reindeer outside. Now she was ready for the real training to begin. Snowflakes danced in the air as she tried to stand them in 2 lines and put on their harnesses, but they wouldn't stay lined up. She had put Tundra at the back with Heather instead of at the front with Twilight, so he kicked out at Heather, who then bolted into Bramble. Tika scolded the reindeer. "Don't move!" she cried. But they all ran off wild-eyed, and she had to go after them and bring them back. Rocking horses, circus trains. The next day, Tika harnessed the reindeer in the barn before taking them out into the snow. Everything went right until she got them lined up outside and tried to steer them first to the left and then to the right. To make the sleigh fly, they would need to pull together smoothly, but everything went wrong. Tundra crashed into Heather. Snowball blew up at Bramble. Windswept knocked over Twilight, and then Lichen locked antlers with Crag. What do we have here? Oh, trains. "Stop!" Tika cried as she watched the reindeer paw the air. "Unhook!" she shouted as they tried to free their long antlers. Then Lichen and Crag fell over into the snow. The harder they pulled, the more their antlers locked. The reindeer were frantic, and Tika only made it worse by yelling at them. Ooh, look at trees and wreaths. Tundra and Heather rushed to help, but the antlers did not break free. Windswept nudged at Lichen, and Bramble ran to help Crag. But the more they tried to help, the more they got tangled up themselves. Their necks strained and their muscles bulged, but their antlers did not budge. Tika wailed, "Oh, please! It's almost Christmas Eve!" But the reindeer could not move, and a frosty silence hung in the air. Some oranges, clocks. Tika looked at the tangled reindeer, once so bold and free, and began to cry. "It's my fault," she said. "I've spent all of my time yelling at you instead of helping. I'm sorry." And one by one she gave each reindeer a hug. "Tomorrow," she said, "we'll go to work in a new way. No yelling, no screaming, and no bossing, I promise. Let me try to help you get free." Ooh, drums and books. The reindeer listened to this new voice. Heather's eyes sparkled. Crag cracked a reindeer grin. Bramble giggled, and Snowball sighed. Tundra laughed, and Twilight smiled. The more they laughed, the more they shook, and as they shook, their antlers rattled and rubbed. And before Tika could do anything, she heard a spring, spring, sprung sound. It was the antlers jiggling free. Okay, what are they? Oh, they're wrapping presents. More. Quietly, Tika led the reindeer back to the barn. She sleeked their coats, she gently brushed their ears, and combed out their manes. Tundra nuzzled her cheek. Oh, look there. There's all the elves watching. The next day the reindeer lined up in 2 lines, ready for the harness, with Twilight and Tundra leading the line. They practiced turning left and they practiced turning right. Tika directed them softly. Tundra pulled for Twilight. Bramble was gentle to Lichen. Windswept helped Heather, and Snowball nestled against Crag. Together they practiced long and hard. They didn't notice that it was getting dark, and they almost didn't hear a jingle in the distance. It was Santa standing by the sleigh, piled high with presents and ready to go. My book is breaking. Now the reindeer were ready, and Tika led them to the sleigh. Santa smiled and nodded his thanks. Then he climbed aboard and waved to Tika, who watched as the reindeer rose up together and carried the sleigh off into the night. And here it says, Merry Christmas. And there's Tika. She is so tired. Great story, huh? Tomorrow we'll make a reindeer. Can't wait.